Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. So, today we are going to be discussing kicking yourself into high gear, Jim. Something that I think we all sometimes need a wee bit of help doing. It could be a wee bit, the day to day, sometimes you can feel a bit subdued, and everybody has like one of those, can we all have those days, and we all experience sometimes significant setbacks and things that just make us feel like we didn't really want to do anything. But that's a slippery slope. Um, and I think although occasionally it's good to take a wee bit of a step back and maybe that day off or whatever, you don't want to fall into that trap of completely laying low. And it shouldn't really be the normal because it will kind of wreck your productivity and your momentum and things. And ultimately your schedule for success and your goals and things and achieving them. What's your thoughts on obviously being in high gear, but keeping yourself at a manageable level? You always talk about keeping yourself just below that threshold where you peak, because otherwise you just burn yourself out.
Well, it is burnout, isn't it? It's
Mm,
it's quite interesting because I was at Scottish Profit Network in Edinburgh last Thursday,
yeah,
and it was quite interesting because there was a speaker there, and he was obviously speaking.
yeah,
Had to say that. There was a speaker there who's obviously speaking, but he actually mentioned the fact that he goes to his bed at 9 and he
okay,
gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
hmm,
Was it 4 o'clock? Yeah. Or was it 5 o'clock? Something like that. But
yeah,
anyway, he said, look, he's thought about it and he's thought about it a bit more. But he says this year he's going to go to his bed at 9. And I thought, well, you've obviously worked it out. You're not getting enough sleep. He went, no, I'm going to get up at 3. What? Sorry? I think my body can work on 6 hours sleep.
no, sleep's a really important thing.
I didn't have the heart because he was so enthusiastic about what he wanted to do. I didn't have the heart to talk to him and say to him, look, that is not a good plan.
Hmm.
You're running on 7 hours so far, and you're supposed to have 7, at least 8 to work properly in your mind. So it's about your mind working properly, your body
Yeah,
working properly. I have now worked out after all these years why I've burnt myself out all the time is because I've been running on sometimes 4 and 5 hours a night, maybe even 4, maybe even 3 sometimes.
which you could
And
do on an occasion, but
you can do these things as one-offs to get the job done
yeah,
or to pull it out of the bag over a weekend. But the reality is it's going to come back to haunt you. And
hmm,
this guy doing this, hi everybody so far. You're all
yeah,
commenting on the side here.
afternoon guy,
So afternoon to everybody. But in his mind, he thinks he's going to be able to do it on 6 hours every single night. And I thought to myself, you've got no chance being able to. It's it's what happens is that your cognitive ability, in other words, the way to think, actually starts to degrade and it gets worse. It's to take time out to sharpen your axe.
yeah,
It's the old. I don't know if it's Abraham Lincoln or something like that. It says, if I had 15 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 14 hours sharpening my axe.
I think it was Lincoln that said that.
And it's probably from someone else in the past, but you know how it all
Hmm.
passes back through history.
Yeah,
People come up with these sayings, but it's also true. Your body and your mind, especially, will not be able to survive on 6 hours every single night for a prolonged period of time. It will short term, but it won't long term. You will literally start to lose your ability to think correctly and
focus and things.
rationally in
Yeah,
certain situations. And I just know that by experience. I don't drink. I haven't drunk for about 8 years. I haven't smoked for a long time, cigars and
yeah.
stuff like that. I don't touch meat. I don't touch caffeine. I've never drunk caffeine in about 8 or 9 years. So I'm pretty straightforward, and I can guarantee you, when I don't have the right sleep, I genuinely feel like I'm hungover the next day just out of
Mhm.
sleep. It's nothing else that causes that because I don't take any of these other stimulants.
I was just going to say, because people that are doing this on short hours sleep, they're then getting up and having a really strong coffee with an extra shot and all these things that are artificially keeping them like obviously functioning. Whereas you don't have these things. So when you don't have enough sleep, which is the thing that you need, function properly and focus, then you actually feel the detrimental effect of lack of sleep on your body.
Yeah.
And that's the true effect of it, obviously not masked by
It definitely
caffeine and
is.
things. Mhm.
It definitely is. It is the detrimental effect that you have of the lack of sleep, and that is not a great position to be in. Now I realise all these years why it was so difficult for me to make the decisions, and why I couldn't think properly in certain situations, and why I made rash decisions on the spot, because of lack of sleep, and why I had my relationships were strained as well, because of lack of sleep.
Yeah, I remember, if I think back to when we first began working together, things, you were always like middle of the night emails and things I would wake up in the morning to, which is on the odd time you'll send late emails if you're working on things, but it's not something that you do now.
It's very rare now. It's only when I really need to get an answer pretty
Or
quick,
what?
and
Yeah.
I kind of think, I can't sleep anyway. I have to train every single day. I have to run. I have to do something just to kind of run myself down. It's not about run myself down. It actually keep me on peak performance. It's kind of like trying to cage an animal. To a degree, you end up climbing the walls if you don't train every day. So I have to do running on the treadmill, or I'll have to do on my bike, I'll have to maybe do the rower, I'll have to swim, I'll have to do something just to keep me active, to keep my brain so it works correctly, and keep me in synchronization with what I do all the time. And this is,
use up your energy.
well, you would think it's about using up energy, but it's actually creating more energy.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is because I'm training myself to work longer at a higher pace by
Right.
doing that. It's like going from couch to 5K.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the couch and I've got no chance of running a 5K. And then all of a sudden, after a month of training, getting off the couch and running a mile, walking a mile, whatever it is, run, walk, and doing interval training, you're at 5K and you think, I could have never have done that. Now you're at a higher level, aren't you, to be able to train? Because you can go then from 5K to 10K, and then you go from 10K to 20K, and then you go from 20K to effectively a marathon.
Yeah.
So it's these small incremental improvements that do that. And this is why treadmill, classic example, other people call it the dreadmill. I'm running a treadmill for 2.5 hours. On some occasions, I've been running a treadmill 2.5 hours solid. Think about the amount of discipline that you need to have and you need to create. So I'm teaching myself to be disciplined. When motivation comes and goes, discipline is the engine that will keep you going. And I'm now training myself with discipline in order to keep going all the time, irrespective of the circumstances. And that is what running, that's what swimming, that's what cycling and training all the time, and whatever, whether it's Aikido, whether it's kendo, what I used to do, all these different things. All you're doing is constantly training, but it's training you for a bigger thing, a bigger event, a bigger. It's giving you more energy. So if you don't train, you've got bags and bags of energy all built up there straight away. So it allows you then to be better at your work. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? I would never have thought that.
And I mean, 2.5 hours on a treadmill, that's I would say that's quite an achievement. If I was to try and do that, I would never do that. Does the high impact not have an effect on your knees and things as well, doing that for so long?
No, I run within my step.
Right.
So you don't do it doesn't do that, but I also run and my feet lift ever so slightly and move forward, ever so slightly and move forward. So basically, you're just doing that on the spot all the time, up and down with your feet. That's all you're doing on a treadmill. It's different when you get outside because obviously you've got to move forward in that situation. But you can easily do that, and when you're outside, because then what you can do is you can just fall forward and lift your feet on the spot at the same time when you're falling forward slightly. And that means you don't need to really use all that much energy. See how the efficiency comes in here and working all that out? And over a period of 3 or 4 hours, that's a huge maximization in terms of your efficiency levels in order to make sure you go even further. And this is things that you can train yourself all the time. This is why people keep going for ages in terms of what they're doing. This is why probably Elon Musk has the energy to keep going all the time, and he's got sleepless nights, and he's on people's couches, and he just keeps going and going and going and going and going. That's the whole point of
it. Sorry, I'm just laughing at some of the comments that are coming through about running. But yeah, that and then the couch to 5K thing, they're really good examples of ways to kind of pick yourself up for a point of maybe low motivation, right through to obviously accomplishing something and getting yourself really into that high gear. And like you say, that's that method of running, accomplishing something more efficiently and possibly in less time or with less effort. Do you know and that's the benefit of working these things out.
The other things that happen out of that is with running, is when you go to anaerobic level, which is like major threshold and maximization. You then start to create neurons in order to new neurons, which actually go to your brain, which actually affects, which actually decreases the chances of Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's as well. You create a huge amount of, your body as a working engine. It creates everything it needs. You don't need to fill it with anything else. It does it all itself. You don't need to put extra into it, really. You just need to give it the right fuel it's meant to have, and your body does everything else for you. It's meant to do that. The reason that your body doesn't do anything else for you is because often you're taking something which is a toxin, for example, alcohol, which is basically ether, and you drink it and you're poisoning yourself.
And your
So therefore, your body doesn't do that. You take excessive amounts of sugar,
refined sugar.
You take excessive amounts of refined sugar, and then therefore your body becomes insulin resistant, and then it causes a problem, because if you've not got your pancreas working properly and your insulin and all the rest of it, your insulin levels, then it doesn't balance out your body properly, and therefore you could end up getting things like cancer, again Parkinson's, again dementia, all the rest of it, because you're insulin resistant now. So there's a huge, this is the point. Most people don't realize that you don't need medication to sort yourself out. All you need to do is prevent it from the very beginning. And this is the message I keep telling everybody all the time. You start early on. Start early on, just doing small improvements every single time. And even if you're further on in your life, just start doing small improvements now. This has all come out with the fact that I've now realized that when my father sat there and got Parkinson's, he never exercised at all when he was told to. Therefore, it was a steady slope downwards to the bitter end. But when the bitter end came along, it was like, you've got no other choice now. You're getting put in a driver, and that's you being basically dead. We're just gonna knock you out and let your body die and everything else beside it, because we can't do anything for you now, because you've not done any exercise at all or anything to help yourself.
It is quite a common thing. You see people, especially things like exercise, could easily get pushed to the side, and people just want to turn automatically to, oh, I'll take a pill for that, or I'll take this whatever medication, and that's really just covering up.
You got to think why you're taking the pill.
Why
are you taking the pill, and what's it caused? Classic example on a smaller scale, a headache. So why are you taking the pill for the headache? What's caused the headache in the first place?
Possibly
that's the answer you should be asking, not how to stop the headache. Because how to stop the headache, take the pill, but what actually caused it? Because it'll keep causing it, and you still keep taking pills, and the pills are actually, let's be honest, the pills are okay in moderation, but anything in excess is poison.
And people get addicted to painkillers and things very easily, especially codeine and things like that.
So there's lots of people saying hello, by the way, in the comments. Hello, whatever. We are here, yes, but we can't sit and go, oh, let's interrupt the show just to say hello to people. You're watching, you're listening, and if you want to make a comment about what we are talking about and go towards that, then by all means, please do that. But if it's anything else that's nothing to do with what we're talking about, which is kicking yourself into high gear and how to do that and wealth creation overall, then there's no point. We'll no talk about what you're saying in the comments.
It's great that you join in, guys, but I keep it relevant, and if not, we are aware you're there. We can see who's how many viewers we've got and things. So anyway, I've put in a few things here to kind of lead us through conversation about ways to keep yourself motivated and kick yourself into that high gear. Now, I've put the first one, I've put happy mindset, and I know you don't like the word happy mindset, you're more content mindset. I think the reasoning for it is I think a lot of the time that people have lost that motivation or don't feel motivated, it's more than likely they're probably not in a really great mood. Do you know, if you look back at the reasons, like, why am I not motivated to do this? Well, I'm not
You'll
really
be
happy.
disappointed every day if you want to be happy.
Yeah.
Guarantee, because you'll never be happy every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So just settle for being content.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And then some of these days you'll be real happy and you go,
Yeah.
and superb. I'm happy. Brilliant. I'm on cloud nine. I said to Sophie, Sophie was actually, Sophie, how are you getting on? I went, I feel fantastic. And she went, fantastic? Like it was something new. And I went, I feel fantastic all the time. Sometimes I just don't notify my face. That's it in a nutshell. But I do feel fantastic all the time. Why would I know? I've got everything I ever wanted and more. Why would I not feel fantastic about that?
Yeah,
What
it
would
doesn't
be
mean you need to walk about all day every day with a big smile on your face. Yeah. Yeah.
Honest. I'm
happy, honest.
Just to prove to everybody I'm happy. It's like, I'm not bothered. I'm okay. It's somebody else's problem if they don't think I'm happy. That's how they interpret it as happiness. They think happiness is all about being, on cloud nine every single time for some people.
Which is
That's no
unrealistic.
happiness. Happiness is being content and actually having everything that you need, rather than and not being upset that you don't have everything that you want, I would say. And that's a big driver for a lot of people. It's that they get upset because they look at somebody else and say, why have I not got that?
Rather than concentrating on
Yeah,
themselves, they're
see all
looking at
the
others.
time. There's people like that all the time that are upset and, why have you got... I've got haters. Love them to bits, by the way. Love the haters.
They're the motivation.
they're brilliant. Because I just get a good laugh at them. Because it's like, that's who they are. They are how they are. It's and you know them straight away because they start to have a conversation about something that you think to yourself, this is the first time I've actually spoken to you, so you've obviously been speaking to me behind my back.
Yeah.
About with everybody else that doesn't like me either. And it's like, and that's what I find comical, because then I'm you know me, I just point it out straight away. Clearly a hater.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of them out there, unfortunately, but it's just to be.
I don't mind, because at the end of the day, you've got to have the haters, because if you didn't have the haters, then who would know about you?
Yeah,
I
and I
that's
think
a good thing.
you've said it before, and obviously it's not. I mean, it didn't just come for you. It's quite a common saying. But if you're going to stick your head out above the, do you know what I mean? You're going to get hit. Your parapet.
You're going to get eggs
hit
thrown at.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
and you just
And
need
you'll
to
have
take
people
that with
for a
it.
certain audience, and these people will be raving fans of yours, but you'll also not appeal to a certain audience, and these people will be the haters. Great. If you've got haters, you'll have fans. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, and I think it would be fair to say that, do you know, achieving that contentment and possibly happiness on occasion quite consistently makes you a lot more productive and successful in what you're doing, because you're just a lot more optimistic in general. And I was in researching this, obviously, that I found that the military actually teaches the recruits optimism to toughen them up mentally and put them in a better mental position within the military, which is quite an interesting thing.
Power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
Norman Vincent Peale.
Mm-hmm.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Susan Jeffers.
Yeah.
It's like, these are all optimistic ways of looking at things, and I suppose looking at examples in life, and I suppose that's exactly what you do. It's mental toughness that will get you through anything.
Mm-hmm.
Rhinoceros Success is a fantastic book. It's almost like a kid's book, I would say, Rhinoceros Success, and it teaches you to get up every morning and charge and have that rhino skin, so nobody can actually stop you and nobody can affect you, and build that mental muscle, so nobody can actually get to you. Do you honestly think Elon Musk cares about what anybody else thinks about him? No. Look at him when he was standing in the White House the other day. The only time somebody stood in the Oval Office and never had a suit and tie on. He broke protocol straight away. Did Trump say anything? Absolutely not. Because we all know who's in charge. It ain't Trump. It's Musk.
Yeah.
And it's Zuckerberg. And it's Bezos.
Yeah,
It's no Trump is in charge.
Yeah, it's a crazy one, but yeah, I did notice that. Did you know was it a black t-shirt he had on? But it was just a t-shirt.
It doesn't matter, but it's the very fact that he just got on with it. And I'll be honest, I'm not a Trump fan. I have to point this out every single time I give him a compliment, but we tip of the cap to him because the very fact that he sat there and allowed that to happen and never batted an eyelid about it and never bothered about it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the mark of somebody. It's a leader. They realize it's like that's the way it is, and sometimes to have the best people in your team, they're not going to be exactly into that mold that you've got in your mind about how people think. That's probably a great trait to have. It's like Tom Coons when we stood at Century 21 and all the and the convention, and we were at the Leaders Summit with Tom Coons, the presidential summit. And Tom was talking. Remember, Tom was talking to people, and everybody was shouting and all the rest of it. When he was trying to do a speech to all these high earners in Century 21 as estate agents, the real estate agents that were earning millions and millions of pounds in commission. And I went to Stuart White at that time, and I said to him, "That's totally disrespectful. All these people speaking over the president of Century 21. It's totally disrespectful." And Stuart turned around to me and said, "Tom's no bothered. They're earning him an absolute fortune."
Yes, I suppose.
And it's only when they're not earning him a fortune, it will then be a problem. But apart from that, he was like, no bothered. Just keep doing what you're doing, earning my fortune. That's what you're there for. You can speak over me if you want. It doesn't make any difference. That's when you know you've got clout, when people will just stop and listen to you. And I suppose that's the case. But then, as I said, it's the world is a bit weird, and it's because most people want the vision of their world to be projected onto everybody else's world.
Yeah,
and they don't realize it's like newsflash: nobody is on the same planet as you. No one thinks the same. No one thinks exactly the same. You can see what's going on now with things like everybody. I've sat back, and the only thing I've said, it's like, you know who's in charge of the Ukraine situation when just America and Russia meet together and Ukraine's left out in the cold, and it's, wait a minute, it's meant to be about Ukraine, is it no?
Yeah.
But you see a lot of people's perceptions of that and how they want to critique it. Anything that happens, you can see that way. Anything that happens, everybody's got their own personal view of it, and a lot of them don't agree with what your personal view is. So what? What are you going to do about it anyway? Nothing, because it's just your view. It will count for nothing, because it's nothing to do with you, and you can have no control over it. So why bother?
Yeah, and you think about all the people in the world, and everybody does have quite a different take on things. And social media is a good way of realizing that when you read the amount of comments on some things for people on forums and things, and the amount of different opinions and approaches that people have is true. Everybody's got their own way of thinking. So
this guy Flashpoint on YouTube's got a. It's like,
no,
we're Scottish.
Yeah, we're
Scottish. We're not Australian American. I thought you would have worked that out.
Yeah, maybe we're not speaking so much with the twang today.
No, we definitely are. He's probably just trying to get us to respond. That's all.
Yeah.
So happy mindset. It's about being content. It's about moving forward and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and a good point just to round that bit up is you mentioned about a few books there, like The Power of Positive Thinking and things, but it's fine. Flashpoint, he's apologising now. We're just having a laugh. But yeah, books, podcasts, YouTube channels and things. These are all ways to get yourself motivated and improve your mindset and your mood. So they're just a few tips to get yourself on that. But and then we're going to move on to, and something that you like to say, Jim, and is just do it. And I know it's the Nike slogan, but it's quite simply when it comes to things, just do it. rather than
My favorite phrase is jump out the window and learn to fly on the way down.
the way down. Yeah.
What? There's no point in overthinking this. Whatever you're doing,
Mhm.
whatever you're getting involved in, just get on and do something.
Mhm.
Amazing the amount of times that people just overthink, overplan, over-prepare, and by the time they've done all that, the opportunity is gone.
Yeah.
The point of
Procrastination.
readiness has
It's a killer.
disappeared.
Yeah.
They've now convinced themselves it doesn't work. It's a typical entrepreneurial cycle in terms of how things work. That happens every single time, the entrepreneurial cycle. You see it a lot, I would say.
Did you say things like Mel Robbins' 5-second rule? Do you know, if you're hesitating about something, just count back for 5 and do it. I think that's a good, and just take action, basically.
The entrepreneurial cycle is a really good one. It's when you first get started, you've kind of got the uninformed optimism. So in other words, you're not really sure what to do. You're just running about like a headless chicken, and it's like, this is exciting, this is exciting, this is exciting. You're up on a high, and this is a classic example about kicking when you kick yourself into gear, and you're up on a high, and then what happens is people start to tell you the reality of the situation, and so the curve starts to come down, and you get informed pessimism. In other words, people are actually giving you the realistic view of the world. They're great at that, by the way, telling you how you can't do something. But what then happens out of that is you're right down at the bottom because they've dragged you down, and basically you've got the crisis of meaning. So in other words, what was this all for? Why did I do this in the first place? When this is the preparing stage and doing everything.
Yeah.
You probably notice similarities in this, Richard. So you get the crisis of meaning, which you go into this like, oh, is it really? Should I be really doing this? Is it going to work? And all the rest of it. And you're either crash and burn at that point, or what you'll do is you'll push forward. You'll charge forward. This is the discipline thing. When motivation comes and goes, discipline is the engine that keeps you going. The discipline then takes you from that and sweeps you up. And now you have informed optimism. At that point, before the informed optimism, though, here's what happens. And it happens loads and loads of times. And a lot of people will see this in their own life right now. And what's happened over the years to them is you see someone else doing something else that might be pretty good. And you go, oh, maybe I could do that. Because that looks like it. Oh, this guy's a sourcer. He's sourcing properties and making money out of that. I'm going to do sourcing. Or this guy's doing refurbs. I'm going to do refurbs. I'm going to buy properties, refurb them, and sell them. And it's like, oh, I'm actually going to do flips. And all these different things. Oh, I'm going to do rent to rent. All these different.
You end up all over the place.
Yeah, because they see everybody else, and then that's when they start to fall into that trap of the crash and burn, because they go back to the start and they do the uninformed optimism again. So they keep going in that cycle of going up and down, up and down, up and down, and crashing and burning, crashing and burning, crashing and burning, until they actually get the informed optimism, and they push through, and then they come up to the informed optimism, and from there, that's what leads to achievement. So this is why I keep saying to a lot of people, it's not how good you are, it's how long you've been in the game. It's how long you've been in the game and how much you've learned about that game that you're playing.
I was just going to say how much you've picked up along the way.
In other words, how long you've been an accountant will determine how experienced you are at being an accountant, will determine how many people would use you because they know you as being an accountant and the go-to person for accountancy.
Yeah.
So naturally, the longer you stay in, the more money you'll probably end up making. And that's my point. This is why when we say just do it, just make it happen. Just jump out the window and learn to fly on the way down. I'm not asking you to leave your job, by the way. That is not the way to do things. No. If you've got something that you could side hustle it until you build it to a point where you think the job's getting in the way now. Then that's when you continue your side hustle and build that from there. You don't just leave and go, I'm going to start something from scratch. Isn't that exciting? And then you're back to the uninformed optimism again. Yeah. And you're on the cycle.
Between the just doing it and making rash decisions. Always make sure that you're making.
So it's having an idea where you're going, knowing there's a market for it, we talked about this the other night. I mean, there's classic opportunities. Someone at the weekend said something on social media about how they weren't able to get deliveries from Marks and Spencers. Apparently, Marks and Spencers don't do deliveries.
Okay.
That's weird, eh?
Yeah, I thought they
And
did.
I went, there's a golden opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be delivering. I'd become Deliveroo at Marks and Spencers. I'd be going, if you want something at Marks and Spencers, I am the person for you. Tell me what you want. We'll go and buy
I'll
it
go get
and
it.
we'll
Yeah.
deliver it to you. I'd be doing that. I'd be stepping in and doing that service if I was looking for opportunity. And then that's the other one as well was Kia the other now. Kia came back
Yeah.
to me and went, and I said to them, so my contract for my contract hire is going to be ending in 2 months' time. If I hadn't phoned you, would you have told me? No, we don't tell anybody. Sorry. There's an opportunity for a contract hire firm for them as well to actually take that business and actually run with it and possibly even pitch that to Kia and go, I tell you what, we'll run your contract hire division for you. Because whoever you've got there now seems to be doing it completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've had hire cars and things before, and it's always, you always get a reminder for your service, you always get a reminder when the contract's coming up to the end. So it's very strange that they
Zilch.
don't do that.
Zero and
and
zilch. I was
likewise,
gobsmacked.
I would be as well, yeah. And likewise with Marks and Spencers, that's definitely missing a trick there. It's always there. So then that's where you've got yourself looking at, always look for the opportunity.
Of course. So there in the space of a few days, I've actually
Yeah.
seen 2 opportunities where I could have just jumped into that.
Mhm.
Am I going to jump into that? Absolutely not, because I make a ton of money and literally do nothing. I'll be honest. Literally do nothing now. I make a ton of money. So why would I want to then go do something if I could do nothing and make just as much or more?
Yeah. Why reinvent things now? But you spent a lot of years obviously getting things put in place and
Yeah, well, it's writing
setting
a
up,
book, isn't it? You
setting
write a
all that
book,
up.
you
Yeah.
sell the book, you market the book, everybody buys the book, everybody continues to buy the book, more people buy the book, you keep the book going, and everybody buys it more, and you still make money even though you wrote it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what buying property is like. You spend the first 5 hours of the time actually setting it all up, buying the property, making sure everything's in place, putting the tenant in, and then you get somebody else to manage it, and that's your job done.
Yeah. Like musicians do with songs as well. Put all their effort into the
Royalties.
creation and the video and then it
Love
royalties.
royalties-based businesses. Royalties-based businesses that will give you residual income every single time. Every single time. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is all the different things you can do. So just do it and get on with it. And bite-sized chunks. Remember, you can't do everything all at once. This is why we talked about expanding into Dundee and Edinburgh and Glasgow. And it's like, but I'm not going to sit and open offices in every single location, and I'm not going to staff them all, and I'm not going to do that. We're going to do a soft launch in each area, and we'll let it build up over the next 10 to 20
where
years.
it takes us, yeah.
10 to 20 years. I'm not caring. I've got time on my side. I'm going to live to 120. I'm not even halfway there yet.
Do you know what? It's quite intriguing. I'm quite intrigued to see where your lifespan journey takes you, Jim. you might outlive me.
No, I will.
That's the attitude to have. That is definitely the attitude to have, I suppose.
I will outlive most people. When people go, "Oh, I wouldn't want that because everybody else that you're with will be away by then." It's like, what will I know? Will I not know anybody else? Like, will there be no one else I'll know? Have I just got to, because everybody else dies before me, I've not got any friends after that? You know, there is other people out there that are growing up as well that you'll eventually meet. So I would say a stranger is just a friend that you've not met yet.
Yeah.
Or a friend is just a stranger you've not met yet.
A stranger you've not met yet. I know what you meant, yeah. But yeah, the just do it thing, and you mentioned discipline, Jim, and I think that's a really important part. And there's a few things in here like prioritizing things in your calendar and things, and that's like we always say what gets scheduled gets done. Also, you said about breaking larger tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces, and it's just like you say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
No,
I never used to get that, and then the penny dropped eventually.
And an important one, and an important lesson for me that I've learned and still kind of trying to perfect is getting over the fact that whatever you do won't always be perfect. And as you always say to me, done is better than perfect. And that's something that, do you know, I've always.
Well, done is better than perfect. It's no mine. It's come from someone else.
No,
I can't remember who it was.
Because I always try and perfect things.
But I'm no daft. I just learn from other people. Why do you want to get around Richard Branson most of the time?
Yeah.
Everybody, I thought about the other night, actually. You know, I go to meet up with him every November.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else actually goes just to the island to enjoy themselves, whereas I meet up and we have a wee chat and all the rest of it. We go for bike rides and stuff like that. It's like, to me, it's like I'm just there to learn. Great. I can lie on a beach and I can enjoy myself. I can take part and I can get everything weighted hand and foot and all the rest of it on his private island. But the reality is, I'm there to learn. That's what I'm after. And no one else is there for that. They don't get it at all. They don't understand.
Yeah, there's so much you could learn from somebody that's as successful as Richard, and the other people that are there as well. I mean, you must pick up a great amount of knowledge in that short space of time.
Well, I was kicking myself, and I was talking to Ian about this morning. It's like, I could have done better when Sergey Brin came in and I got introduced to him. I could have done something different there. I could have blagged my way onto his yacht. Oh dear. So and that was the reality. It's but it's lessons learned. It's in the moment. You should have taken the opportunity. So again, it's learning to get forward and move forward and make sure you're in the right company. But nobody's starstruck, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. What I was going to move on to as well is scheduling stuff when you're at your peak, and that's like, you know, when you're at your peak of your day, you're a morning person or you're later in the day, and we've all got these ultradian rhythms, which we have different times of the day when we feel a little bit more productive. So instead of kind of fighting against that natural cycle, use it to your advantage. You know, if you are a morning person and say you always notice that you're quite motivated and pumped up between, like, I don't know, 8 and 10 in the morning, or it's more in the afternoon, you know, between like 2 and 4 or something. Do you think you should identify when that time is and try and be more productive and doing what you're doing in these times of the day? Is that something that you've ever done?
I knew this at a very early age. When I used to wake up, it was 12 o'clock at night.
Right. Okay.
So I was able to go all day normally like everybody else, but when I really came to my peak performance, it was like 12 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. So I was able to. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't sleep. So when everybody else was like, "Oh my god, I can't go any longer disco," I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Just peaked.
Anybody got a party I can go to?" Sort of like that.
Yeah.
It was, but I realised that I've kind of got. It's either it's a lesson, it's a gift or a curse.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, but it is a gift to a degree in the fact that I could go forever, never, and just keep going and keep going and keep going, and probably that is a superpower, if that makes sense for me. I would say. So I'd definitely say that was to me it was a huge advantage. To most people when I was growing up, it wasn't, obviously, because I think now it would be determined as ADHD.
Yeah, possibly that's how I would be diagnosed as that now.
Yeah, you'd be diagnosed, you'd be given drugs or the rest of it, Ritalin or whatever it is, and then that would be the end of you. You'd be zonked out in a corner for the rest of your life. And then everybody would go, why would you, what was your purpose and why did you not attain what you were meant to attain? It's like, well, because everybody drugged me up for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right thing at all to do, to be honest.
Did you work at changing that cycle so you were more like being able to sleep and then get up and
Nah, I just ran with it. I never knew anything about that when I was younger. I never knew anything about sleep patterns and getting the right sleep and everything I've learned so far now. Yeah. It was only just trial and error and experience and watching people far more successful and wondering how, because Jeff Bezos used to talk about all the time, I get my 8 hours sleep, he always used to say. You could see it in these interviews. I'll wake up at like 10 o'clock, he says. And it's like I saunter around the kitchen and I do this and I do that. And then I maybe start work at 2 o'clock and then I go home at 3. And, these sort of things. Right. But that's it. And then I think, why on earth is he able to do that? Or and I understand why now, because he's got people that actually are probably a lot wiser than him in their own in their own right, in their own fields, and he's not. He's just good at hiring the right people, and so is Richard Branson, and so is Elon Musk, and so is Jeff Bezos. There's a pattern there, isn't there?
There's a common theme there, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Steve Jobs. Took Steve Jobs 18 months on average. He was they were getting told 18 months it takes Steve Jobs at the time to actually get somebody into Apple. And I remember the story about him telling somebody one day, I think the boy was the CEO of Coca-Cola, and he went, "Are you just going to sell that sugary water for the rest of your life? Are you going to come with me and change the world?" It's like, what could you say to that? No, I'll just stay and sell sugary water. No. Obviously went with Steve Jobs and changed the world.
Yeah.
That's a good pull.
There's a lot
to change them. To get somebody on board, it's like no motivated by money at all, really, because if you're the CEO of Coca-Cola, I'd imagine you've got quite a few bob.
Yeah.
And you would be all right. So that's the sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, at the peak performance times days, I mean, people will have, and you'll all know yourself better than anybody else. And if you've got times of the day where you are a wee bit more productive, then use that to your advantage is probably the advice here.
You tend to find somebody like me, I tend to find I'm tired when I stop.
Mm-hmm.
There is other people out there, I know that, like this as well. So I'm the type of person is when I stop doing something and I don't do anything, that's when I get tired. But when I'm doing something, I'm always productive. I'm always going. I'm always on the go. I'm always active. I don't get tired. It's only when I stop. Whereas for other people, it's maybe the other way around for them. But there is a lot of people out there like me, wired up like me.
Yeah, and keep wired and fired until they actually come to the point where right, I'm stop, and then they feel right. Okay, it's downtime now.
That's why when you eventually retire, it's no about sitting on the porch watching your dog die and watching the world go by. It's about actually doing what you really want to do when you want to do it.
Do something that's going to keep you motivated. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what retirement's all about. But it's actually, you're right. It's a purpose and a motivation, and it's all the things you ever wanted to do. Just make sure you've got your health to be able to enjoy it. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that is not going to happen. You're going to be at an age probably where your health is going to suffer, and everything you worked for and saved up for and invested for to get to has been ruined by the fact that you never looked after the most important thing ever, and it was your health.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's laying on their deathbed and never said, I wish I had more money. They've always said, I wish I had more time.
Yeah, and exercise and keeping yourself active is a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I just used to look at exercise as the principle that if you look at an engine in a car and you constantly run it all the time, then eventually the parts will wear out. I didn't realize that your body has the ability to rejuvenate itself every single time. And instead, unlike a car, which is just moving parts, your body actually is a machine that an organic machine, which will actually rectify itself, and it's got all the necessary parts in it to look after every other part in your whole body itself. All you need to do is stop pushing it to the limits and exerting it so much, and you'll get the most out of it.
Yeah. I think on the flip side, I mean, using the analogy of a car as well, you don't use a car, it'll just sit and seize up, and then it's, you know what I mean? Then it's not any use at all. So we could look at it.
The things that I've been learning so far with the running is like running in the heart zones. So 147 beats a minute. You know, I've got to run around that. That's the base. Recovery is 134 beats a minute. Threshold is 176 a minute in terms of beats. So I'm running in heart rate zones, and probably that's the best thing to do if you're wanting to live a long, happy, productive life and have your health as well. You have to work on heart rate zones, because if you thrash it all the time, eventually your heart will just give up. Once your heart gives up, that's you gone.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the sort of things you've got to look after and not push anything in your body too far, but only to the point where it helps it rejuvenate itself and it helps it get healthier. So then your blood, your beats per minute drop as the result. I mean, there's some guys that have got a resting heart rate, like some of the Olympic athletes' resting heart rates are like 30 beats a minute.
How could how could that be?
because their body is so refined and it's so efficient. They only needs 30 beats a minute to put everything round because they've got to the peak performance.
Right.
See what I mean about exercise, about getting to that point. So it actually slows down your aging. Because you're not needing to use your heart and everything so much. So if you constantly keep it sort of not an athletic performance, but just kind of a good peak performance, you're going to get a lot more out of your body.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. That I never even thought of it like that.
Whereas if you're not exercising, you're running at 80 beats a minute. You're running about 3 times as much as an Olympic athlete. Therefore, you're aging 3 times as quicker in terms of your body. So think about that. That's why it's important to exercise, but not overexert yourself every single time. Just keep moving up. So there's a couple of thresholds every week that I do, but it's not major, and it's all driven. It's driven by Garmin. It's like, hey, I may as well try it, and it seems to be working so far. But Garmin knows, because it checks all the different the heartbeat and all the rest of it. It checks if you're strong, if you're weak, and you tell it after you finish the run, and the algorithms work out, and it works out exactly what your body needs and what it can take the next time. For example, this morning, 32 minutes, 134 beats per minute. So it was a recovery run. And then asked me what, did I feel strong? Did I feel, was that light? So I went, yep, it was definitely a light run, and I felt strong. So I'll now know that that's a light run, or strong for me. So it'll probably up it a wee bit more for the next time. So it knows I can work with that, because it's also checking my heart rate at the same time as I'm running. So it's all these different things that make a fundamental difference.
Yeah, the Garmin is a good. I mean, it's amazing what the Garmin could do, all just for your watch. So what we're going to move on to, and I think we've kind of made it clear, but I think when you're trying to be successful and kick yourself into that high gear, you kind of need to be a wee bit blunt with yourself and be a wee bit realistic. And ultimately, the next topic that I put in here was cut the crap, basically. And I think this is mainly stop making excuses. If you want to do it, you do it, and there's no excuses. I think that was Bruce Newman that says that. That saying, and I think it's back to the just do it type thing. But if you kind of want to be real with yourself, you need to stop making excuses about why you can't do things. I think, a lot of people will talk about
lift your hand. Did you do it or did you know? Did you try? You didn't. You did it. Nobody tries anything. If you try anything, if you try it, then you're not doing it. You're either doing it or you're not. It's just a black or white situation here. You either do it or you don't do it. So it's the same with things, and it is exactly what you said about just cutting the crap and getting on with it. There's no time for excuses. It's like, well, you may as well just say, my neighbour's got my lawnmower. Because any excuse will do when you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So the next time you've got an excuse for yourself, just say something really absurd to the person that you're giving the excuse to. The neighbour's got my lawnmower. Just say that and remind yourself it's just an excuse you're making up to avoid what you're wanting to do or what you should be doing. This is the whole thing about being a real estate agent and being self-employed. The great thing, or anything being self-employed and running your own business. The great thing about running your own business is your own boss. The worst thing about running your own business is you're your own boss.
Yeah.
Because on a Saturday night, when you know something needs to be done, or there's been a call out because you're a plumber to somebody's job, you don't go because you're your own boss. Or when you're an athlete and you know you've got to run in that morning and it just looks a bit cold and icy and wet and drizzly, and it's like, what excuse are you going to give yourself? Because you can't give yourself excuses. You just have to do it. If you give yourself excuses, you'll never get to where you want to be. And the more excuses you pile on yourself and give out for what you're not doing when you should be doing it, the longer it'll take you to get there. That's why there was no negotiation in me being successful in retiring before I was 40, because I gave a deadline and says, I will be a millionaire and retired and financially free before I'm 40. And I said, there's no pension,
You were 38,
burn the
were you?
boats, I ain't got a pension, I ain't got any delivery for the future, I've got no wealth or anything built up for the future. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to die trying. Burn the bridges or burn the boats. Burn the boats like the Vikings used to do. Vikings used to win all their wars because they used to turn up 100 of them in a boat, they used to burn the boats, and they used to fight about 3,000 people with 100 people and win every single time. Because they knew they had no other choice. Either died or they won. That was it in a nutshell. Now, I'm not saying to people, take out the biggest car loan ever, spend,
Monte
go
Carlo.
on. This, I mean, there's a fallacy here about if you want to be a top person, travel first class everywhere. No, that's just daft. Especially if you can't afford it. Don't push yourself into that deliberately because you think that's going to motivate you. That is not the way to do it. You just got to find the discipline. In other words, you've got to, I'm going to travel first class every time when I make it. That's what you've got to think about. When I make it, when I get to that point, I'm going to do first class, I'm going to do business class, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to reward myself, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to do this. All these different things. You've got to have a staged progression towards that. Now, when I got to most of these things, I was like, I don't really need it now. It's great, I can have it.
But it gave you that motivation along the way.
That was good enough for me. The fact that I could buy a bigger house, I could buy a castle, I could buy a new car, I could get a Aston Martin, I can get a Lamborghini Huracan anytime I want, is the very fact and the fulfillment that I need. That's all. I don't need to go and buy it to justify it. It's the fact that I can buy it justifies it for me, saves me an absolute fortune at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of situations where people use excuses. Like the working out or the exercising thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have enough time to do that, or if you're making decisions in business, and it's like, oh, it's like I'm not in the right financial position, or or even like the fear of rejection is a big one as well. These are all things that people use excuses to not.
Have you got time to watch the television? If the answer to that is yes, you've got time to work out then. Because you could do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Or you could just do the workout because it's a hell of a lot healthier for you.
The time thing is that we had a conversation last week, and I says to you, if I told you I didn't have time to do that at least once a day, I would be lying to you. And you were like, thanks for your honesty, because I mean it's true. If you don't think you have time to do that, then you're just making an excuse up. So
yeah, definitely. And again, I go back to saying about the stop comparing. That's the thing. And a lot of people look at Instagram. Instagram is not. Instagram's the devil, by the way.
It's quite it's too showy.
I don't look at Instagram. I don't watch Instagram. I'm not interested at all in Instagram. And
we are human live on Instagram, but
Instagram is where people think they are, but they're not really. It's all pretend on Instagram.
Yeah.
Social media is usually, typically, like Facebook is genuinely, that's where people are. Because you hear them. You hear all the moans and groans from social media, from Facebook, for example, in terms of that. TikTok's just people that are crazy and want to sell something. That's it. That's all TikTok tends to be. Just people that want to sell you something. That's it. But Instagram's people that want to just pretend that they are somebody, they're no. And reels, Facebook reels are just for cats. That's it. Facebook reels just for cats. LinkedIn, I have no idea. I've still not worked out what that's for.
It's meant to be business connections and things, but
I'm still not convinced. It tends to be people, again, a bit like Instagram in the business world, who want to just pretend they're all high and mighty. When you check them out in their accounts, they've not got two halfpennies to rub together.
Yeah. Which in Scottish terms means that you're broke.
They've got no money at all. They like to pretend they've got, and they like to pretend they're a lot further forward than they are. Politicians, journalists, things like that. That's probably where LinkedIn is about. And there, so you get a lot of content and information on that in terms of the business world and the investment world on that channel.
Yeah.
But then that comes back about LinkedIn, about you were saying about surrounding yourself with the right people. It's having that power team. It's knowing how to hold yourself accountable in certain situations. It's interesting because Gymshark.com, the founder of Gymshark.com, and the founder of there was another one. Who was it? I can't remember, but I know the founder of Gymshark.com actually doesn't run Gymshark.com. He employed a CEO to run it.
To run it for him, yeah.
Because he's like, these are smart people that go about and go, well, I'm not really good at running that company. I'll employ somebody to do that, and I'll work in marketing because I'm really good at that bit. That's how they get forward. That's how they move forward, because they don't. They're happy to play second fiddle because they know the person they're putting in charge is the person that knows what they're doing. Remember, in that capacity, you're the owner, you're the shareholder. You're not the person. The shareholder doesn't necessarily need to be the person that runs the company. And Gymshark's a classic example of that. And there's other ones as well. I think what's the wee wristband you get? And the wee black wristband. I can't remember what it was. No, it just monitors. It doesn't have a screen or anything. It's just a black wristband that actually just monitors you. He's another one that actually has that sort of appeal as well. Richard Branson as well, classic example. Doesn't run his company. Sergey Brin doesn't run his company anymore. Mark Zuckerberg probably doesn't run his company anymore in high power positions. He sits in the background. He's an advisory, all the rest of it. Jeff Bezos probably the same as well. They're no daft. They're not the people in charge, and the people in charge running SpaceX, Tesla, and all the rest of it. Everybody looks at Musk being the person, the figurehead. He's not really the person. He's got a power team that actually helps him do it. He doesn't do that all himself. I mean, it's delusional for anybody to think that's the case.
No, and I think with any big company like Amazon and SpaceX and Virgin, they're such big companies that there's no way that one person could run it all. They have to have the right team. And
so surround yourself with the right people, as you said. Stay away from the toxic people.
Yep.
Even though it's your family, stay well away from them. Tell them you love them, but just say, you can't be in my life because you're toxic.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell. Stay away from these people. People that are unmotivated, people that are just lazy, people that couldn't care less, people that just want you to be just like them.
Yeah, it's the crabs in the bucket thing.
Yeah, and you've got Tony Robbins is a great one to learn from. So Tony Robbins, when you're wanting to surround yourself with the right people, and you need that boost and stuff like that, Tony Robbins is a really good one to do that. He talks about changing your mindset in a heartbeat, and how you can anchor a feeling in a move, make that. Tony Robbins goes like that all the time, kind of waves and does that he knows that gets the crowd to stop. When he does it, so he's trained the whole crowd. I mean, 5,000 and 10,000 people in a stadium, and it's like he's going way, and he gets everybody to stop at the same time.
Yeah, we've been in the room with him, and it's amazing what you could do with a room of people and get them pumped up.
Because he's got everybody conditioned that these are the moves. But he's also Tony Robbins anchors, and another anchor, Bill Clinton, classic anchor. Before Bill Clinton goes on, looks at himself in the mirror and goes, "Showtime."
Pump himself up, yeah.
Showtime. That's it. Bill Clinton in the mirror every single time before he goes on. That's his move to pump himself up, to make sure. And in his mind, for me personally, I've got triggers in songs.
Yeah.
There's certain songs I know straight away will get me, and everybody's got it, because I'll guarantee you, all you need to go is go to a nightclub, and as soon as any song comes on, you've got the one person that gets up on that floor and goes, "That's my tune."
That's the song, yeah.
and even if there's nobody on the floor, they're up on their own. And it's like they're dancing the dance of as if nobody's watching. And that's exactly what they become, because they become completely immersed in all the adrenaline and all the great things that get in their brain, all your chemicals within. It's all the, you see, all this stuff. You want to get highs, it's already in you.
The body could do it, yeah.
Never mind cocaine, never mind cannabis, never mind anything, and never mind alcohol, never mind cigarettes, never mind vapes, all the rest of it to give you this high. You don't need any of that shit, because it's all in here anyway. And your body manufactures everything, and all you need to do is learn how to trigger your body to do it. And once you trigger your body to do it, you'll fizz every single time you want. And I know, because it's like I do it. It's like, my God, when a certain song comes on and I let it trigger me, it's because I could let it trigger me. I could stop it from triggering me. But if I let it trigger me, I actually genuinely feel a huge rush to my brain with that song. So it's
and you know it's purely because of that, and there's no artificial things influencing that, like you say, alcohol or
it's manufactured within your system. It's the endorphins that you create. It give you that drive and that organic high, I would say. It's like every single time you can do that. Why do you think runners run all the time? God, it's like, oh my God, it's like, this is agony, this is agony, this is agony. And you get runners high at the end. That's what they're doing it for. They're doing it for the high.
Achievement, and their
they're not doing it for the achievement, they're doing it for the high.
Because their body will be pumping it.
That's why runners put themselves through so much pain. It is the same high as you get just jumping out of a plane. It's that sort of thing. It's the same high as you get as somebody hitting you and it hurting. It's the same. It's the same chemical. Yeah, it's the same reaction that comes through you, and it gives you that high and that feeling of euphoria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the classic quotes. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Look at yourself in the mirror every single time for that. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. I used to say that in the very beginning. I used to go to myself, does this pish actually work? But I tell you what, it does. It does. My mentors actually told me, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does work. Definitely works, I would say. Definitely works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot of things to really kick yourself into high gear, and like obviously that mindset and just getting things done, and cutting the crap and having the right people around you, like we've just covered there as well. But I mean, there always will be points where people maybe don't achieve or have a bit of failure along the way, and it is inevitable. And it does kind of suck, but opposed to letting that have such a negative effect on you and kind of running away from it, embrace it, use it as an opportunity to learn. And Thomas Edison famously says, "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways to work on it, or up to 1,000 ways." That was the light bulb.
But you never fail. You just don't pass.
Yeah. So
every single time, exams. I used to have it with Elaine every single time. My wife, she used to go, "You failed it then?" I went, "No, I just didn't pass it."
Yeah.
Just didn't pass. What's wrong with that? I don't like the word. I don't think there is such a word. I don't think the word should ever be used, because it'll lead you to success. It's everything you've learned, and all these things you've learned is never a failure. It's just something that you've learned that will allow you to then move on to a higher plane, or find a better way in terms of how you've done it. If you don't climb a mountain for the first time, do you think people just give up? No, they don't. They generally go back and then they work on a way. Okay, the first time it didn't work for me because of that, and that. What I need to do next time is do this, that, and that to get there the next time. And that's the classic example. That's what I love about climbing mountains, because mountains teach you a lot about your body and how your body works and how fit you are and how mentally fit you are, how mentally tough you are. That's what I love about climbing mountains. They'll really take you to the brink and to to the precipice, to the edge, almost to the point where you you would just want to push yourself off. And that's what climbing mountains does. And if you can work out that, and work out where your tolerances are and where your thresholds are, and your mind mentally, you'll achieve anything you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you could get yourself to that point, you'll succeed at what you're trying to achieve. Okay, right, let's wrap it up there for today. That was kicking yourself into high gear, guys. Thanks for everybody joining in the comments and watching us. If you're watching a rerun, jump in the comments, we'll come back to you. And as ever, Jim, thanks for all your insights on our topic today. And we'll be back next Monday at 12:30 as usual for the Wealth Creation Show.
See you later. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, Jim. Bye.